Welcome. Today we will be discussing word count example using MapReduce design patterns. So, how these design patterns can be used or applied in MapReduce, and for an example we will be focusing on word count example. So, to move ahead, I will be discussing certain prerequisite what we have done in our what we are going to do in our experiment. So, to begin with, we will be using Cloudera as a framework. Then within that Cloudera, we will be using Eclipse, and the data set we will be downloading Stack Overflow data set, and this data set describes about comments dot xml, the comments which were been posted by different users. So, we will be working on this particular data set. So, what we are going to do in MapReduce is we will be creating three classes. One is driver class, second one is mapper class, and lastly we will be creating a reducer class. And to convert this XML into plain text, we had used an helper class named MRDP utils. MRDP stands for MapReduce design patterns. This is a customized class to convert your .xml into plain text. So, to move ahead, let us start with our coding. Okay. So, we are in Eclipse right now. So, what I have done is I had created the Java project named numerical patterns. Within that in the src folder, I had created a class with the name WC, and in this WC class, as I told you that we are going to deal with three classes. One is the mapper class, one is the reducer class, and the last one is the driver class, which is our main. So, let us go one by one, and along with this, the last class which will convert our XML to text, that is MRDP utils class. This is a class. So, in all we had created four classes: mapper, reducer, main, which is referred as driver class, and MRDP utils class. And meanwhile, I have downloaded the data set too. This is the data set which I was talking about, and in this data set, if you could see a post done by some user, this is the sequence of post done by a particular user. This particular XML tag needs to be converted into text. So, that conversion is being done by your MRDP utils class. While it comes, I will be referring to this particular data set. So, we will begin with our driver class. In the driver class, the basic configuration settings we will be making out. First thing is configuration of Hadoop. We will be using configuration class which comes from org Apache Hadoop conf package. So, this particular class will be informing your job where exactly your Hadoop configuration has been done. After that, we will be going with certain prerequisite, whether it checks whether the input and output path has been provisioned or not. If not, if there is only one path which you have mentioned while you execute, then it will throw you an error. Moving further, here we are setting our job, and the name of the job is Stack Overflow comment word count. we are working on the comments file downloaded from Stack Overflow, and on that comments we will be working on word count. Here in this we will be extracting the text and we will be counting the number of times each and every word has been repeated in that particular comments.xml file. And moving further, here are the two classes, mapper class and combiner class, and as well as reducer class. So, overall 3 classes, whereas for combiner as well as reducer we will be passing on the aggregation function which was been there in our reducer class. So, we will be calling our mapper as well as reducer classes from the set mapper as well as set reducer classes, and overall this is going to be calling our mapper and reducer classes which we will be which we had created. Along with that we will define what will be our output key as well as value classes. The intended output key is text as well as value is the aggregated times it has been repeated in that particular document. And the next two lines describes about what is your input, where what is going to be your input path and what is going to be your output path. Input file which has to be processed, and after processing where it has to store, that is said to be your output path. So, these are the things which you are going to mention in your driver class. So, basically we will be calling our mapper class first, and the logic which is there in your mapper class is here. Firstly, we will be describing 4 parameters, object, text and int writable. It is nothing but K1, V1, K2, V2. In our previous classes we had dealt with these K1, V1 as well as K2, V2. As K1 is not used uh, in our code, so it has been referred as object, whereas V1 is text data type, and the produced output after processing the logic, the mapper will produce K2 and V2 which will be in text and int writable. And the first line in the map function is you are going to parse the value, that is XML, into a hash map of string comma string. It is nothing but your K1 and V1, string comma string, and this will be calling your helper class, this one. And what is the major agenda of this particular helper class is that it will convert, it will take the XML string as an input and it will produce an hash map of string comma string. And to make it out, it will just trim, it will trim the spaces, leading and trailing spaces of an XML, and it will extract the data from first 5 fifth index to last but third index, length minus 3. So, it will extract that. When we will focus on this particular data set, 5 is nothing but 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 5. It will trim this and last 3. That means the last 3 tags which are there in your data set. So, it is a bulky data set. Okay, I will just go up back to the beginning. Yeah. So, it is comments database data set. So, this particular row which is there, it will be converted into this particular format, and how it is converting, the logic has been written in our MRDP utils class. What it is doing? It is trimming the token I and token I plus 1, means each alternative is your key and value. ID is key and 4 is the value. post ID is the key, 21 is the value, score is the key, and 2 is the value. And based on what it is segregating, splitting up this line into tokens based on the quotation which has been mentioned in our MRDP utils package. Over here it is splitting based on the quotation, and it will be appending those things, or it is putting those key value pairs in a map function, and this map function which is being written to the calling function which has been called from here. So, once the plain text has been received by the mapper class, what it will do is it will extract the key where it is mentioned as text. If you get back to the scene, you can see text is the key and this is the value, that is beat me to it how. And we do have special things, that is quotation as well as question marks or apostrophes or spaces or special characters. Those things needs to be handled before it gets into the process, and that will be handled using a class named string escape utils. It will be converting the entire text into lowercase first of all, as well as it will remove the quotation. If there is a single quote, it will just replace with nothing, and if there are special characters, then it will replace it with a space. Once certain pre-processing has been done on the data set, your data is ready for further logic, where in mapper each and every word, first the entire text is being split tokenized using string tokenizer class, and all the tokens were being stored in ITR, a variable object, and this is being passed through a iteration loop such as while loop, and each and every word is being set where these strings are going to be converted into text, and text will be appended to the word, as text is a special wrapper class created under writables interface class of Hadoop framework. So, Hadoop does not recognize a string, so we need to convert it. How we are converting typecasting those things? Through this. Here whatever string is there, that we are going to convert it into text, and it is being appended or it is being written to the context class, which will be gathering all the output that is the intermediate output of mapper class, where your word and one will be appended to each and every word. What does it means? Means mapper is saying that a particular word which it is coming across, it is being viewed for the first time. Even that word has been repeated, it is a basic idea that each and every word has been appended with 1. And so the outcome of your mapper class will be K1, K2 and V2, which will be text and value, and the values are going to be iteration. So these will be passed to your reducer class, where reducer is simple logic which we are going to implement, where we are to aggregate the sum on the values which were being produced from the mapper. Text will be remaining as constant, and whereas int writable it will be iterated, as a particular word might be occurring more than one time. So this is passed through for loop, extended for loop, where sum is been calculated, and that sum is being passed, and it will be written to your context class, context object, which will be gathering the output of your reducer, which is tended as the final output, which is intended output. Once we are done with this entire thing, how to run this particular program, how to execute this particular program. So, first of all we need to convert our program, or we have to export our program into a jar file. You can name as sample.jar, you can name it in any manner. I am naming it as sample.jar, clicking on next, and I am clicking on finish. Okay. Once the jar file has been created, let us check whether that jar file has been created, sample.jar, in our workspace. CD workspace, listing out the files. Yeah, our sample.jar has been created. So, this is a jar file. Now, let us run that particular jar file. So, before running that, let us put our comments file. I do have downloaded comments.xml file over here. I have to load it onto my HDFS. It is presently on local file system. So, what I can do is HDFS DFS hyphen mkdir. I am making as demo, a directory, new directory named demo, and I will be copying the file comments.xml into demo. Once the file is being present on HTML, just check it out whether it is present under demo. Yes, comments.xml is present. Now, we can shift over to workspace. Let us execute the program. What is the name of the jar file? Sample.jar. And what is the class name which we had created? That is WC. WC is the class name. And what is the input path? My input path is /demo /comments dot XML. This is my input file, and where my output file should be generated, I will be creating a new folder named out under demo. The output folder should not be existing. Just hit enter. And wait until it gets executed. Now, the mapper and reducer initiated its job. So, our mapper has done its job, reducer also done its job, and number of bytes it has read is something, and number of bytes it has returned to a output file as it is aggregating the input file. So, the output is going to be in a reduced fashion. So, let us check whether our out folder has been created under demo. Yes, we do have a out folder under demo. Click on out. So, we do have part R 5 times 0, R stands for reduce. Let us cat and see the part R 5 times 0, hit enter. So, these are the words. This particular word has been repeated for 3 number of times. This is the word which has repeated for twice, and so on and so forth. This is a word which has been repeated for 61 times, and so on and so forth. So, this is all about our experiment. Thank you.